Hello, my friends. Welcome in or welcome back. My name is Amanda, and today we have 3 piles with unique messages from Spirit regarding a mystery message that they want to share with you today. If you are ready to choose your pile, you can use the timestamps in the description or the pinned comment below to hop right into your reading, or if you'd like me to introduce you to the piles, let me do so right now. For pile number 1, we have the Aurora Borealis with the BC Jade stone. For pile number 2, we have the Fireball with the Mookite Jasper crystal. And for pile number 3, we have a river with the Serpentine stone, if I could pick it up. Slippery little devil. So when you are ready, use your intuition to choose the pile or piles that are calling you the most. Then use the timestamps in the description or the pinned comments to hop right into your reading, and we will see you over there. Hello, pile 1. Welcome to your reading. You chose the BC Jade stone with the Aurora Borealis. Now, this gives me a feeling of magic. Something that is awe-inspiring, miracles, miracle of nature, dancing and playing with the light, seeing the light in the darkness, or seeing the beauty or the magic of the light, or the magic of the darkness. You could also be an air sign, given that this is an air card. There could also be some kind of communication that you are receiving regarding some kind of message relating to something that's going to excite you. Could have a lot to do with your thoughts as well, and kind of clearing up your thoughts in order to see the magic in the space in between. So let's get into your reading now and see what mystery message Spirit has for you. This is for group 1. Dear Spirit, what is the message you have for group 1? We'll pull an energy card to start your reading. Energy card to start group 1, please. Almost. Strongest energy, please. For group 1. Group 1, please. Thank you. Dig deep. Ooh. There's lots going on down there. Lots of treasures going on down there with this dig deep card. Lots happening. A lot is happening below the surface. Not so much on what's happening above surface. There's a lot more going on underneath. There's so much going on. There's treasure. There is stashes of acorns. There's mushrooms. There's new growth. There's so much. And what's so interesting is that this is the sky. This is above ground. This is in the air. So it's almost as if in order to see the miracle and magic in your thoughts, you have to dig deep into the root, the earth. Because I feel like there could be a lot going on down there. And there could be some scary things and some things that you don't want to see. But I also feel like there's a lot of treasure. There's some treasure down here as well. With the treasure chest and the potion bottle and even a dragon that we can't really see. Huh, interesting. Okay. So in order to look up, we must look within. Spirit, as within, so without. We're speaking to group 1, please now, dear Spirit. 3 cards, please, for group 1. Thank you. 2 more. Thank you. 1 more. Thank you. We have the Knight of Pentacles on the bottom of the deck in reverse. We also have the Wheel of Fortune. We have the Moon. Talk about a dig deep card. And then we have Page of Swords in the reverse position. Okay. So this confirms the energy of the dig deep card. It confirms, and there's, with the Aurora Borealis, we cannot see the lights. We cannot see the magic and the beauty without the darkness. And that's what this Moon card is all about. I also feel like that's what the Page of Swords is about as well. It's about moving through this possible energy of the storm that you might be experiencing. Maybe even avoiding or trying to not move through. But I feel like whether you like it or not, it is here. It is happening. And there's not really much you can do about it, but do your best to move through it and to see what treasures are here in the darkness. The Moon is all about mysteries being revealed, about the dynamic of our conditioned mind, of what we've been known to be true, of what we know, and our instincts, and what our intuition might be telling us to do instead. So there's a bit of a, I want to say, a battle or a tension between those two as we question everything that we know. And this could be something that has been triggered by some kind of change in your life. The Wheel of Fortune can speak to good fortune, it can speak to good luck, it can speak to good changes. But it can just be simply that, don't worry, this too shall pass. And that no matter what we do, life is going to change, whether we like it or not, whether we're prepared for it or not. And so, yeah, both major arcanas, so I feel like whatever you are moving through is significant in your life, and it will form a new future. It will form and mold you in a way that is different than what you are now or what you were before. Now, because these are in reverse, it's either you are trying to avoid that or you are moving out of it. But there is something to learn in this. If you are avoiding it or kind of nervous about it, or, trying to move away from it in some way, there is something with the Page of Swords. There is something for you to learn here in this moment. There is an old skin that needs to be shed. And it's like you want to speed through this because the Knight of Pentacles is in the reverse. So it almost feels like you're stuck here and it will never change. And I'm always going to be here. I'm always going to be like this. But rather than kind of look at the situation as, this is my life now, maybe ask a different question. Ask a question that might illuminate where you are. What is this trying to teach me about myself? What is this trying to show me about what I need in my life? What is this trying to open up for me in my life? You may not see that in the moment, but it's all about digging deep. What is it you're feeling? What is it you're thinking? What is it you're experiencing? Kind of at the surface level. And then dig deeper into why that's uncomfortable. Why things might be shifting for you. And kind of the reality of how you feel. Is your soul or your spirit trying to guide you to a new place? To be a different person, to have new thoughts and beliefs. It requires an open mind and a non-judgmental perspective. This is not about sitting in it and identifying ourselves with it. It is about stepping back and observing it for what it is. So, for example, I will use my example because I've been through some dark moments with my business. And you can look up Dark Night of the Soul because the moon can speak to that. There was an underlying, well, first it showed up as burnout. I was burnt out all the time. No matter what I did, I was constantly burnt out. And I started to lose motivation and love for my business. And so I sought out, how can I relieve burnout? That's kind of surface level. I was exhausted. I was unmotivated. Everything in my life started to be impacted. Getting dressed felt like it was a difficult chore. And so I couldn't really show up in my business. I couldn't really show up in my life. And so while I was trying to navigate through that burnout, I didn't realize that what my soul was trying to tell me was that this isn't for you. And that was a more difficult reality because I had spent 7 years building my business. This reality that my soul was trying to tell me was not true. So again, we have that conditioned mind of what we know to be true, what we believe, what we've been taught or trained. And it's kind of that comfort zone. But then there's that instinct that tells you, no, this isn't right. This isn't what you truly, this isn't your highest, elevated place to be. This isn't where you will thrive. And it was clear through the experience, the physical, mental, and emotional experience of what I was dealing with. And so I had to sit down and really get real with myself about what my burnout was trying to tell me. And it was telling me something I did not want to hear. That I had to change my business in a very, very significant way. And so that was the illumination. That was what that dark place was showing me. As much as I tried to go around it and move through it and find some other solutions, the actual real solution was exactly what I didn't want to hear. And so I ended up kind of rediscovering and shifting what it was that I believed about myself, about me in my business, about what it meant to let go of it, about what it meant to continue, about all of these things. Everything came to the surface. And that is the beauty and the difficulty of this dark place, is that it is illuminating something new within us, and it's going to be different than what we know, hence the change in the Wheel of Fortune. But we're not stuck here. It's just that we have to come to terms with what that reality is trying to, or what our soul is trying to tell us. And it may not align with where you are now. It may not align with what you're doing, what you're experiencing, how you're acting or reacting to things. It might require a significant shift into doing something different, which is why we have to dig a little deeper than the surface level. And almost ground ourselves into the reality, rather than looking into the sky or beyond to find a magical solution. It's about actually going within. So, that was intense. I'm going to get some clarifiers now for you. And let's see what kind of advice or clarification we can get for this situation. If you're feeling this, resonating with this at all, please comment below and let me know. So we have the Empress in reverse, the Moon in reverse. Clarify the Moon in reverse, please. Clarify the Moon in reverse. Clarify Spirit. The Moon in reverse. What does Group 1 need to know about this Moon in reverse? Aha, yes. Page of Swords in reverse. Did one pop out? No. Felt like it. And the moon can be all about illusions. What we think we know, we actually don't know. And so lots of mysteries and secrets and lots of stuff can come to the surface here. All right, so for the clarifiers, we have the Empress in reverse. We have the Death card and the Page of Cups in reverse. So I feel this is about something that needs to be, this is about your growth. essentially, this change and shift that's happening in your life that makes you feel a little bit out of control. This is about your growth, and it's about planting new seeds for something new. So again, you might be feeling like you're in a bit of a transition phase, but it's about tuning in, and it's about nurturing yourself during this time. It's about having such love and compassion that you are not judging yourself for being here. You are not judging yourself for feeling the way you feel. And in that process, you are creating magic because you are leaning into this space of growth. And it requires some patience. I know there is a feeling of you wanting to speed through this, to skip over it, to not go through it, to not be here. Know that this isn't your fault if that's how you're feeling. There is no guilt and no shame here. There's no judgment here. So I want you to lift that right off your shoulders and understand that this is part of your growth. This is part of positive change, even though it's very difficult. Now, I will put an asterisk on this because I don't want to minimize any kind of extreme circumstances where you might be dealing with trauma or dealing with some kind of extremely painful or emotional event that tarot can't possibly help you through. Leave that to the professionals. But if we're talking about kind of the everyday things of life where we're feeling a shift in the winds and we're being called to something that we don't quite understand that things aren't working because you did something wrong, or things are changing because you did something wrong. I feel like this is part of your soul's calling, your soul's growth. And it's going to take time. So with the Knight of Pentacles and the Empress in reverse, both of those are cards of patience. The Knight of Pentacles is a very strategic, very methodical. There's a methodical approach to it, kind of a one foot in front of the other. You might need to do that for a time while this passes. And you might even need to just stop whatever it is you're doing. So rather than trying to make quick progress or move through this or see success or achieve, this might be a time where you just step back and observe. Observe the feelings, observe the emotions, observe the beliefs and the thought patterns that are coming up. And with this Death card paired with the Moon, it's exactly what we were talking about. Something needs to end. You are moving through a very significant transition in your life, very significant transformation. You are transmuting some things here that I don't know if it was instigated by you. With this Wheel of Fortune, it makes me think that it's just something that your soul was meant to learn, and now is the time. And this requires you to say goodbye to an old you, an old life, an old way of doing, and make way for the new. There could definitely be grief involved in this. I know with my own experience, I grieved the fact that I had to let a huge part of my business go in search for something better for me. And that's kind of that reality of the situation, is that this is the end of the road for this particular thing. So it's time to move through all of those dark parts in order to see a little bit of the magic and light again. The Page of Cups in reverse, this can speak to we both have pages here, so there's a sense of new paths being formed. There's a new way of thinking. If there's an open-mindedness, you can learn a lot in this process. If there's an open-heartedness, then you can learn new ways of showing up in your life. New ways to love yourself, even new ways to explore and nurture your ideas. maybe even a sense of creativity. This could inspire some creative energy, some creative projects, some creative thinking. There's imagination in this card, but again, both of these are in the reverse position, which means that there's a blockage to doing so. There's a resistance. I get it. With both of these pages in reverse, there's a fear of new. There's a fear of taking a new path, of doing things differently, of feeling differently, because of those patterns that we grew to know. But now I feel like there's certain things in your life that are no longer working for you, and it's time to put them to bed. It's time to thank them for their service, but they no longer serve you in this new path ahead. But don't forget, these pages are not starting from scratch, so you're not completely starting from square one here. You are starting from a solid foundation, and a foundation of what you know, what you don't know, what you need, what you want, where you want to go. And maybe that's a little bit unknown right now, but that's okay, because I feel like you are moving through this, even though it may feel like you're stuck. But again, it's about being an active participant in kind of this revelation that's happening. So we're going to get some final oracle messages for you. Spirit, could we get 2 oracle cards to end group 1's reading, please? 2 oracle messages, please. For group 1, what else do they need to know about this message? Take charge with authority. So this is very Emperor energy. There's confidence here. And we'll just get one more. Drop your shields. This is all about finding your foundation, your center in this, and taking charge, not letting the circumstances define who you are, dictate where you're going, but take charge of that. Let it be a guide to where you want to go and where you don't want to go. This is a moment where I feel like you're really starting to build new foundations for yourself. And it's very authoritative. And if you feel like you are being taken for granted or taken advantage of in some way, it's time to take charge of that. Hold your ground and speak your mind, and overcome those energies that aren't working for your growth. I feel like it's really time to find your place and yourself in this situation, especially if you're in a situation where you don't want to be. And it's about being the boss and not being bossed. So again, it's about having that authority, that confidence to say no, to say what you want, to say how you feel. And if you're after some kind of job, let's say, it's about you stepping into that authority and confidence to say, yes, I can do that job and I can do it well, even though there might be a small part of you that might have a little bit of imposter syndrome. It's about stepping up and saying, yeah, I can do that. I've done it before and I can do it again. And I feel like you do have that experience. You have that gift. And drop your shields. This is really about dropping the shame, the resistance, and the fear that is standing between you and your new life, new opportunities. Know that you don't need to hide who you are, and you are born to be yourself, your authentic self. Now, this doesn't mean completely dropping all of your boundaries and letting people walk all over you, because we have this Lord here. This Lord has not only that protective energy about them, as well as this but there's authority there. There is boundaries. But dropping your shields is about not having to have that protective force field, but also be open to new experiences, new opportunities, new ways of thinking, doing, and feeling without painting them with the same brush as maybe what you've experienced in the past, of being open to things being different. Obviously, that's going to come back to the choices that you make and the people that you allow in, so be very discerning. But that's kind of where I was getting is being open enough, but also discerning to protect your energy, to protect your dreams, to protect where you want to go. And you are stronger than you think. These are coming out as really big, powerful energies, but not pushover energies. Not energies that are going to crumble under the pressure of experiences or people or situations that are challenging or difficult. These are people who are very strong and empowered and understand their worth, understand what it is they're trying to create, understand when to put up the shields, but also when to drop the shields so that they can let things in. Having healthy boundaries, a willingness and an openness to learn and love and build something beautiful. So my dear group number 1, I hope you found some clarity and guidance today with these messages and cards. With gratitude, I'm sending you my love, and we'll see you in your next reading. Hello, group 2. Welcome to your reading. So you chose the fireball, the sun, the center of our solar system, the center of our bodies, the solar plexus. With the Mookite Jasper. You could be a fire sign as well. But this is a ball of energy, a ball of light, a ball of fire. Great balls of fire. There could be some messages in that song. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Now, this also can speak to desires and passions and forward movement and action, very divine masculine, where we are taking actions and being very willful in those actions to achieve something here. This also speaks to confidence, especially when it comes to the solar plexus chakra. That is where our confidence and self-worth resides. If this is out of balance, you could have stomach issues, digestion issues. So there could be a need to balance that chakra as well. But let's see what other messages Spirit has for you. Spirit, speaking to group 2, what messages would you like to share with group 2? Let's open the reading with one card. Group 2. Group 2, please. Thank you. Ooh, Rebuild. This is one of my favorite cards. Rebuild. It's so beautiful. Now, we have the sun here too. This is such a great card. I could just get lost in this card. Now, let's focus on the messages here. This is, there's a sense of home here. You know, a spider weaves a web to catch food, and it can very easily be ripped with wind or with a really big bug, a bird, anything. So there's a bit of a delicacy here, but there's also strength with that web. So interesting. I wonder what it is that you are rebuilding. There's a sense of foundation or home here as well. Maybe there needs to be a confidence to rebuild something. Maybe your confidence has been shaken because you are required to rebuild something. This could also be about mistakes as well. Mistakes can be, they're not failures, they're just opportunities to learn and refine and rebuild the structure of our lives. So you could be experiencing some kind of mistake or failure that has really shaken your confidence or sense of self-worth, your self-esteem. And so now it's time to start over, rebuild, refine, renew. And so I think initially, I think Spirit's message is going to be all about not seeing mistakes as failures and to never try again, but to try differently next time, to not take those mistakes to heart and lean our self-worth on those. So it's about kind of picking yourself up and dusting yourself off and rebuilding like the spider does. You know, when their web gets broken, they don't give up. They find somewhere else to rebuild, or they rebuild something bigger and better, and they keep doing it. So I feel that's kind of the initial message here. And with the judgment that just flew out, I definitely feel that there's some big stuff going on with you, and it has to do a lot with seeing things from a different point of view, different perspective. And there we go. We have foundational card, the Four of Wands. So we have two big major arcanas. We've got the Judgment and the Temperance. We've got the Four of Wands in reverse, and we have the Eight of Wands in reverse. So I definitely feel that with the Eight of Wands in reverse, you know, this is a very, in the traditional tarot, it's a very fast-moving energy, could speak to communication and travel, and things really coming in quickly. But with it being in reverse, there could be some significant delays that you're experiencing, and maybe that is the mistake or the failure that you feel you are experiencing at this time, is something is not coming to pass as quickly as you thought. And you're putting a lot of work and effort into this, but it's just not happening. Now, because of the way this card is depicted here, there's almost a feeling of celebration. But because it's in the reverse, it's like there's nothing to celebrate yet. Okay? I want you to put that word on every single one of your sentences where you say that you haven't done anything. You haven't done it yet. Because all is possible. If you haven't done it, that means it still can be done. It's just that some changes may need to be required in order to really firm up and refine what it is you're doing. So again, it's learning from these mistakes. And we've got Judgment card, which is a card of resurrection and kind of hearing the call to continue and do something differently. This is about shedding an old skin and moving away from what didn't work, and maybe an old self of maybe that old self did something in certain ways, but it's not working. So it's about doing something different, about elevating something, about getting above and beyond this particular situation or circumstance. And then there is the Temperance card, which is a card of really bringing things into balance and doing things almost from an experimental point of view, of doing a little bit of this and doing a little bit of that, and not putting so much force or effort into something when you don't have the data or the time to course correct if need be. So this is about having that patience to have that moderation in that process, to do something this way and see how it goes, to do something that way and see how it goes, and not invest too much in one way or another, but to be open to experimenting and doing a little bit of trial and error. And the Four of Wands in reverse is about not having a solid foundation to work from. And when you don't have that solid foundation to work from, it's really difficult to find that momentum, to gain that forward movement like we saw with the Eight of Wands. So it's about getting things in order first. And I think that's where this rebuild is happening. It's not in what you're seeing in the external and what kind of changes do I need to make in the external world. It's about coming back to your core, What are the changes that I need to make within myself to rebuild my foundation? Have patience with that and understand that there are some things that will need to be moved away from, let go of, transmuted, transcended. Because how you've done things in the past, I feel it may have worked, but not in the way you'd like. So it's about doing something new, but not necessarily just doing something new. It needs to be from a new personal foundation. So it's about getting that organized, getting that in order before you start taking actions. And I really feel like that's where it's at right now. And that could be why you're experiencing delays, is not that it's not working. It's that there's something within self that needs to change in a very significant way. So maybe you need to do something bigger. And in order for you to do that bigger thing, that big scary thing, you have to get to the root of why you might be fearful of it. Or you might not have the confidence to go after it. So let's get into some clarifiers and advice. Spirit, could we get clarifier for the Judgment? Big moves is what I'm hearing. It's time to make big moves, and in order to do that, you have to upgrade. Update. Let's do Temperance in the upright. Thank you. And Four of Wands in reverse. Four of Wands in reverse. Clarify that, please. Yeah. This we knew. Okay, so we have the Hermit. This are Ten of Cups and the Ace of Pentacles in the reverse position. So this is very definitely clarifying the reading here. So in order for you to really make this shift within you, you have to do a little bit of introspection. You have to do a little bit of self-assessment. And that is what the Hermit is all about. It's about kind of pulling back and getting quiet, getting still, of not taking action. And I think with this opening card here that you chose, I think that you are a very dynamic person. You are very productive. You want to do things. You want to see progress. You want to see results. That's great. However, I think in this instance, it's time to pull back a little and to find ways to refine and rebuild something. But it's not going to require a different strategy. It requires a different you. And in order for you to do that, you have to pull back from the noise, the distractions, the opinions and advice of others, what you think you should be doing versus maybe what you want to do. This is about tuning in to that self, that internal fire, that internal spirit of yours, to explore what limiting beliefs or limiting thoughts or patterns of behavior are preventing you from doing the thing that you want to do, preventing you from moving forward, maybe even keeping you stuck. Now, with the Ten of Cups here, a card of happily ever after, your ultimate fulfillment, that you're not only so fulfilled with yourself, but you're so fulfilled in your life that you can outwardly share it with others. Your cup overflows. And it's about finding that emotional satisfaction. Could be with another person as well. That will take patience and time and that moderation to find what's going to work towards that ultimate fulfillment. This isn't about kind of having A, B, C, D, and then it's done. And it will be, perfect and all will be well. This is about a constant back and forth, an ebb and flow, constant evaluation, assessment. What works, what doesn't. Let's do more of what works and less of what doesn't, and move over here and try this. It is it's very fluid. And so there needs to be a little patience in that process, because there's never an end result, or there's never kind of a destination. This is a journey more than it is a destination. So it's about being open to doing that and not thinking that your mistakes mean that you've done something wrong. It's just coming back to, okay, that didn't work, so let's try something else. It's being very soft in that process. It's being very gracious and compassionate in that process of finding that beauty, of that balance in your life. And then the Ace of Pentacles with the Four of Wands in reverse is exactly, I think it's an identification of where you want to go from here. And I think there is going to be a significant opportunity, but it has to be from the right foundation. It has to be with the right intention, the right foundation in place, in order for you to be able to commit to and work towards that in the long term. In order for you to have that long-term commitment, you must plant the seeds in the right place. You have to make sure that the ground is fertile. And in order for that to be possible, you have to start at the beginning with that assessment. What weeds need to be weeded out? What needs to be added to the soil so that it can be nourished and full and plentiful with nutrients? And then we can start figuring out the best places to start planting those seeds and being very methodical about it. And I feel as soon as kind of this work is done, whatever this work is, I think that it's really going to give you a more solid structure and foundation to work from moving forward, and whatever it is that you want to commit to in the long term. And it's whatever it is that you are rebuilding here, or refining, or redefining. I think that the new thing on the other side of all of this is going to be something that you can take down the road for a very long time. This is not going to be a flash in the pan. This is something that you're going to commit to for an extended period of time over the long term. And it's going to be from the right foundation, the right place, because you've figured some stuff out in this process, in this self-assessment, in this doing, in this fluid movement of figuring out what is going to be your most ideal, what feels best. And this new opportunity could bring in wealth. And when I say wealth, it could be a happy and healthy home life, a happy and healthy body, happy and healthy bank account. But it's all about doing the foundational work first and making sure things are in order, things are in place, not rushing the process, because that is going to be the firm foundation that you build from. Okay, so let's get some oracle messages to end your reading. Group 2. Oracle messages for group 2. Thank you. One more. Thank you. Yes. Okay. A harmonious resolution is possible. So you might have some doubts about rebuilding something. Maybe you're having some conflict with people or self at this time. Knight, be brave and honest. Well, that's interesting. So this could be about finding a peaceful resolution for what it is that you are being challenged with. But yeah, to move through this and to find some kind of resolution, you're going to have to be brave and honest with not only the person or people that you might be dealing with, but more importantly with yourself. And that's where this work happens, is when we can really come to the table with what's working and what's not for us. And I didn't see any kind of fighting cards or conflict cards. I mean, this could also be internal conflict as well, but there needs to be somewhat of a surrender to any kind of internal conflict that you might have, rather than, and I don't think you're resisting this because all of these are in the upright position when it comes to the Judgment and the Temperance. So I think there's a willingness there to move into this energy. But if there is any resistance or internal conflict, it's about letting go of that resistance for a moment and not, defining yourself by the mistakes that you've made before, and not also defining your future based on those mistakes that you might have made in the past. And don't be forced to make any quick decisions either, because this is all, especially with the Temperance card, this is all about patience. The Eight of Wands is very fast moving. So if there is anything in your outside circumstances that are forcing you to make a decision or to move or to do something, this is about finding space to not rush this process, because I think you will do better to take your time rather than rush through. And I mean, a spider doesn't rush through making his web. Everything is very meticulously done in a certain way. So you want to make sure, again, coming back to that foundation, that things are built on solid ground here. And you're not rushing through or skipping any steps here. And with the Knight card, this is about, with the being brave and honest, not only about the truth about what it is that you want or need to do, or what it is that's kind of happening within you or within your life or circumstances. This is about doing the right thing for you, even though it isn't the easiest option. If you know something is right and true for you, then you have to kind of move in that direction. And it might disappoint people. That's okay. I think it's worse if we disappoint ourselves in situations where we know we should take this direction, but we go in that other direction instead because somebody is going to get upset or disappointed or frustrated. And again, that could be why the Peacekeeper is coming out, is because you might ruffle some feathers in this process. Let that be okay. Know that nothing bad is going to come of you if you choose what's right for you in the end, if you choose your truth. And it's about keeping that peace and not trying to justify you can if you'd like, and share and explain your choices to people. But when we explain or justify our decisions to others, that kind of opens the door for criticism and opinions and advice when we didn't really ask for it. So rather than kind of swing that door open, it's about sharing with the right people and sharing without kind of giving the indication that this is up for the decision of others. I feel like this is a very soulful journey for you, and this is about your personal and spiritual growth. So it really has nothing to do with anyone else. So if you make decisions, let that be a decision, and especially if it aligns with your truth, let that be a decision that you're really feeling strong about, and that you can share with people, this is what I've done, or this is what I'm doing. The end. People can have discussions and opinions, but that doesn't mean that you have to be swayed to do something you don't want to do. So I think that's why the Peacekeeper might be coming out here, because the Knight is a very powerful forward-moving energy, and there's bravery in that, there's movement in that, and this Knight is going to do the thing that feels most truthful in his heart, regardless of whether it upsets people or disappoints people, because he'd rather be right and true to himself in the end, because that's what's most important. So it's about taking the higher ground, about knowing what your truth is, and to not let others kind of sway you from that truth. And if you have made mistakes in the past, that's totally okay. Take ownership of the mistakes that you've made, but don't be defined by them. Don't set your identity in them. Take ownership, figure out how to make changes and to maybe avoid that in the future. And then move forward from that space. Do something, make those changes that you need to make in order to move forward from that mistake that you might have made that might be kind of sitting with you. And could be the reason why you're not seeing any forward motion, because there could be a mistake here that is preventing you from moving forward. But it's about discovering what that is, about saying, yeah, no, I should have maybe done this, or maybe I'll try that in a different way next time, or I have to look at self and why I made that particular decision and what was driving that decision. So I'm going to leave it here, Group 2. I hope you found some clarity and guidance today. With gratitude, I'm sending you my love, and we'll see you in your next reading. Hello, Group 3. Welcome to your reading. So you chose the river with the serpentine stone. So you could be a water sign, which is why you selected this reading. Or there's a sense of you possibly needing to go with the flow of some kind here. Going with the flow of life, going with the flow of changes that you're seeing or feeling, going with the flow of whatever challenges you might be coming up against. There's a lack of resistance here, as the river is just flowing as it needs to flow to its destination. And there's no question, there's no judgment in it, there's no shame in it, there's no desire to change, it's just flowing. So I think that could be part of your message here today, but let's get an oracle message to open your reading, and then we'll get into your tarot. Spirit, could we get a card for Group 3, please? Opening energy card for Group 3. Opening energy card. So we have listen. Kind of a cute card. So listen. What do you need to listen to at this time? Maybe that's why there's a message of go with the flow. Is that there's no reason to maybe do anything at this time, especially if you're questioning, what do I do? Where do I go? How do I fix this? I think it's just about, there's a sense of stillness here. It's nighttime, the moon is out. I think it's cute that there's a little bell on the end of this hat here. But it's about listening to the stillness, listening to what it is your soul is speaking. So with that, I also think that it's kind of a nice pairing with the river too, because when you're kind of just going with the flow, you're not doing, you're not forcing, you're not pushing for something, you're just being. So I think being is a really strong message here. It's time to just be. It's time to just go with the flow of daily life right now. Not try to fix, not try to achieve anything big, not try to progress. I mean, obviously you can do that, but I think the Spirit is really encouraging you to kind of step back and observe and maybe listen, tune in to that inner voice. Let's see what the tarot has to say. Spirit, could we get 3 cards for Group 3, please? 3 cards for Group 3. And you could be going through a bit of a darker moment in time right now as well, especially with this moon card here. Pile 1 got the moon, so that could be something to check out. But we'll see if the moon comes up in the tarot here. It'd be interesting to see if it does. Group 3, please, dear Spirit. All right. So, look at that. I can't plan these things, so they just happen. Ace of Swords. Yeah, so Moon in the upright, Ace of Swords in the reverse, and the Five of Swords in reverse, and the Empress in reverse. Right. So we've got the Moon. I'm definitely going to, I think that's confirmation that you are going through a bit of a darker moment in time. There could be things not working out. There could be a lot that you're questioning right now. And there could be a sense, an internal sense of you needing to have all the answers, of needing to go and do and fix and change. But some things are a little bit clouded at the moment. There are some things that are kind of happening under the surface that you don't see. And I feel like this is creating a little bit of inner conflict if you aren't actually in conflict with others. If you are in conflict with others, I think that this might be time to take it a step back to gain that clarity, because when we're in this combative mode, when we're in this survival mode of trying to win the argument or be seen or be heard or understood, it's really tough to know what that inner voice is telling us, what that clarity actually is, because we're so busy doing. And I think that's what the Listen card is, as well as the River card, is that there just needs to be a flow of energy right now. Because the Moon is very mysterious. It can really bring up a lot of questions in our life about what we believe to be true and what our instincts are telling us, or what we know to be what we were taught or what we were conditioned to believe versus what our instincts are telling us to do. And I feel those two things are at odds right now, where maybe the what we believed at one point is no longer true for us anymore. We've made some kind of change internally, and that can be quite confusing because we don't really know what the answers are. Our judgment is clouded. We don't have a clear way forward. We don't have kind of a sharpness of mind. So I kind of feel like it's about looking at what we can discover in this place of darkness. There is a new path, I feel, is being revealed, and it might not be the brightest of paths. We could only move one foot in front of the other at this time. But it's not about big strides, big achievements, big goals, about doing the big things. This is about a bit of a stillness and a moment to listen, to kind of get comfortable in this darkness of not knowing. Getting comfortable with things not being exactly as they were and exactly as they need to be. And releasing a little bit of pressure on yourself. Having compassion for yourself, because I see in the Empress that you might not have a lot of compassion at this time. You might not have a lot of patience at this time. And you might not want to nurture yourself in a time where you kind of feel like you're in this fight or flight mode, where you kind of want to do one thing or the other. You don't want to sit here. And I get that. But I do think that there is some things that are happening that need to unfold. So it's about going with that flow, and in the process, relieving yourself of this inner conflict, relieving yourself of any kind of feeling of not having all the answers, and not judging yourself for not having all the answers, about shaming yourself. We have to really remove ourselves from those feelings. Easier said than done, but this is about coming into a moment of patience, of nurturing ourselves during this time, because new seeds are being planted. They just have to wait for the ground to be just right, just fertile enough. So, and I also, with the Moon card, I also want to share, you are not being buried, you are being planted. And when I was going through my dark night of the soul with my business, and I share that story in pile 1 if that interests you, when I heard that quote, it completely changed my perspective on how I moved through that energy. And that this is not necessarily a moment where it's going to be dark forever and I will forever be in this place and I'm being buried by all of these emotions and I'll never see the light again. This is Spirit planting us. This is a seed. This is a moment of something new. And it's dark right now, but we will start to move towards the light again. And that's what this Empress's energy is as well, as it's a seed that's been planted in fertile soil. And when it's planted, it needs to be nurtured. It needs to be given water. It needs to be given sunlight. It needs to be nurtured in order for it to grow to the surface. So I think that's really strong advice for you at this time, is to find ways to have compassion for yourself. And there are affirmations that you can do. And I would say that if there's an inner child in you that is feeling shameful, I want you to speak to your inner child as you wanted to be spoken to, or as you would speak to a child, or as you would speak to a good friend. That helped me a lot as well, is, if a small child was going through this, if a good friend was going through this, and they had, bad feelings about themselves, shame, blame, how would you approach this person? How would you care for them? How would you nurture them? So we are getting into clarifiers and advice. Yeah. All right. So 7 of Swords in reverse. I think moving through this is not going to, it's going to be a little bit difficult. If it's not already difficult. It's going to require a change in perspective, a change in strategy, a change in thinking. But what I love about that is that we see that change of thinking here. Even though the Ace of Swords is in reverse, Ace of Swords is like starting from scratch, from square one. Brand new idea that hasn't yet come to form. Brand new thought that hasn't taken shape yet in the reality. This is you with the page moving from a place of authority. And while yes, it's a new path, you're not starting from scratch. You're starting from experience. So it might be a completely new strategy, a completely new path, but you have so much under your belt now that you know how to stay away from the situation in the future. And the 7 of Swords, it can speak to deceitful energies around you and some truths that need to come to the surface. So that could be happening in the moon as well. There could be some suppressed thoughts or some things that come to light that you didn't notice before or see before. And yeah, so I think you're going to have some kind of clarity, but it's not going to be in the way that you think. You could also be learning something new, taking a course, connecting in with some kind of coach or mentor or therapist in order to help you along here. You could also even receive some kind of communication or news that completely changes things as well. Could have something to do with the 7 of Swords in reverse. But I really feel too like the moon is going to reveal your own truths as well as other people's truths. And that's the tricky part of it, is that it brings stuff up from the depths that you didn't even know existed. And it brings things into light that you don't necessarily want to see. And it casts shadows on things that you aren't sure. Is that real? Is that not? There's a lot of confusing energy here. And that creates clouded judgment and not thinking straight and thinking clearly. But I really feel like there is going to be some clarity. And with the Tower card here, a new foundation is being formed. I think at some point, I don't know how quickly, but at some point on the other side of this moon, when things start to become clear, you're going to have a moment of blowing the whole thing up and really rocking your foundations here, whether it be your own internal foundations and how you do things, how you relate to people, the things you think, the things you believe, like completely you're wiping the slate clean here. Could that be that, or something in the external comes in and helps you do that? And it could also be in your physical life as well, where like everything changes all at once. And that's kind of what happens with the moon sometimes, is that we move through it and realize, what the heck am I doing? I'm this person, and I'm no longer that person. And this thing, this person, this situation, this job no longer aligns with this new me that I have uncovered in the moon, which could have always been there. But with all of the shoulds in our life and all of the opinions and the limiting beliefs and the patterns of behavior, we kind of formed ourselves into something that wasn't really true to our soul. So this is kind of a recalibration to that. And when we recalibrate and we realize that our life is not aligned with this new calibration, it can cause some serious conflict within ourselves, within the people around us, within our physical foundations of life. And we might change jobs, we might change houses, we might change partners, we might do a complete upheaval. So that could be happening on the other end of this, dear Pal 3. But in the meantime, I really think it's all about comforting yourself, offering yourself compassion and love, and really listening as you move along the river. As you go with this flow, listen. It's not about doing, it's about being. Observing. Let's get a couple of oracle cards to end your reading. Strongest energy for pile group 3. I'm trying to say group 3, group 1, 2, 3, because they're not really piles. So, here we are. Okay, if I can shuffle. Group 3, 2 cards, please. Thank you. Oh, see, there's your water again. I definitely think you're a water sign. All right, so you will be successful at the other end of this. And what's cool about the tower too, speaking of the sun, and I love how the sun came out at the end of your reading. And you've got the moon to kind of start your reading. So that's kind of cool. But the neat thing about the tower is that when you've crumbled the entire thing to the ground, or at least taken out some pillars and kind of cleared space, you can see the light, you can see the sky, you can start putting things back together again in a new way. So Water Guardian, connect with your emotions. And that could be part of the message of that river, is that it's time to not think about things and get in our heads about, oh, what are the answers? What do I do? What actions do I need to take? This is about connecting in with your emotions first, or especially at this time, and really uncovering what your emotions are telling you about what you need at this time. Because I think there's some neglected feelings or neglected needs here that need to be rectified. So it's about taking time to understand how you feel and know that your sensitivity is not a curse but a gift that allows you to receive and understand messages directly from your soul. Water is the element that is in your blood, your tears, and your flesh. And this is about understanding the depths of your emotions, helping you see that your emotions aren't just the feelings that are on the surface, but they're also the old emotions that may have been locked up deep within the shadows of your soul, as we talked about with the moon. And through helping and acknowledging your deepest emotions, they have messages for you. Especially when it comes to your intuitive power, your intuitive knowing, and kind of the energies of abundance, of what's going to bring you abundance. And I think that's why this listen card is here, because it's about listening to those emotions on a deep level. And it's okay to feel whatever emotions you are feeling at this time. They're all powerful, whether they're happy or sad, whether they're grief-stricken or whether they are confusing. Acknowledging them and let them flow through you rather than have them crash down on you is kind of part of this message. And I love that that kind of gives me that feeling with the river there. It's about flowing through the valley here, flowing through the landscape. And I think there's also some intuitive or psychic messages arising, or could be. So if you ignore certain emotions and acknowledge others, then you could be missing out on some of that guidance that can lead you to hope, love, success, happiness. But just know that the doors are opening for you with the Sun card. Connect with that inner fire that is in you, but I wouldn't say act on it quite yet. I say this water is definitely more important at this time. But the sun really kind of banishes the darkness as well. So what kind of things can you lean into at this time that makes you feel good, that makes you feel confident? So if you're wondering if you're ever going to get through this, the answer is yes. The sun is here to be your guiding light through this darkness. But I think this is a real time for you to just be with your emotions at this time, as uncomfortable as that might be, as challenging as that might be. Definitely, if you need to seek guidance on a more professional level, do that, because that might be helpful to chat about those emotions and have somebody to, bounce those off of. And yeah, I really think, as dark as it is, I think you're really going to come through this with great success and a beautiful new life ahead of you. So, my dear group number 3, this is what I have for you. I hope you found some clarity and guidance today. And with gratitude, I'm sending you my love, and we'll see you in your next reading.